And if we can't get to the place where we change ourselves, how will we change the world? But it starts with us being able to go. So we've been in the book of Proverbs. How many of you all know that the book of Proverbs is also called the book of wisdom? And there's a lot of wisdom in that book. There's so much wisdom in that book that it's impossible to teach it really in one night. Even though we're doing a chapter every Wednesday, we can't really even scratch the surface of it on one Wednesday. So I'm picking things that the Lord is saying, teach them on this. And tonight, I'm going to be in Proverbs chapter 20, and the verse is 20, verse 6. It says, most men will proclaim everyone his own goodness, but who can find a faithful man? So what that scripture is saying is that most men don't have a problem proclaiming their own goodness. But there's a difference in proclaiming something and then being something. Do you see? There's a difference in proclaiming when Isaac called Jacob in the Old Testament, when Isaac called Jacob and he couldn't see, he said, it sounds like Jacob, but it feels like Esau. His hands felt like Esau. Do y'all remember that story? No. He had hairy arms. He said the voice is one thing, but the hands that represent what we do. The voice, what he's saying is one thing, but what he's doing is a different thing. And if we don't get into the word and become doers of the word, we'll be guilty of what we say. We're saying the thing, but what we do doesn't match what you say. And so the person that's trying to figure you out doesn't know what you really are. He says he's a Christian, but he's at Moe's Place every Saturday night. I always pick on Moe's Place. They're going to get mad at me one day. That's the only bar I know about here. I don't know, there's some other Woody's, whatever you want to call it. So here's the deal. Faithfulness is not just about us being faithful. Faithfulness is a cornerstone that allows people to follow you. Your ability to be faithful enables your wife to be able to follow you if you're married. If you're not married, when you get a wife. Your unfaithfulness will make her not follow you. So God's not trying to get you to be faithful so that he can walk up to you and say, man, you're so faithful. So that people can say, wow, you're so faithful. He's trying to build inside of you some sort of a cornerstone of character, faithfulness, so that you could be living a life that's worthy of being followed. He's trying to get something to us. In 2 Chronicles 19:9, he says, and he commanded them, saying, thus you shall act in the fear of the Lord, faithfully and with a loyal heart. Everybody say faithful. Everybody say loyal. Those are rare qualities today. They're very rare, even amongst men. Even if we get out of the marriage relationship and we just talk about friendships, a man on a man friendship, it's hard to find a loyal man. It's hard to find somebody that'll stick with you to the end. And anybody know what I'm talking about? It's hard to find somebody that'll be faithful to you. The Bible says who can find him? Faithful and loyal are rare character traits in people today. I'm going to go, listen, this is the way I look at it. When I say faithful, a lot of people say, how would you define faithful? Let me tell you how I define faithful. It's when you're obedient over a period of time. Because, we throw that word out and we say, what does that mean, faithful? Full of faith? Faithful means that I'm doing the right thing for 1 year, for 5 years, for 10 years. I'm 28 years married. I've been faithful for 28 years to my wife. Faithful. 28 years of faithfulness is different than 5 years of faithfulness. They're still faithful, but one carries a little more time. And the more time you get of obedience, loyalty over time. Let's talk about, I've been loyal to her. She's been loyal to me for 28 years. Loyal to me. Do you see? There's a power to that. And before y'all all get condemned, for those of you all that maybe you've made some mistakes and you're not married or whatever happened, I'll wait. Pastor GF used to tell me, you can't unscramble the eggs. You can just make them over easy next time. Pick something up while you're down there. Do something different on the next time around. Don't let the enemy just beat you up. I'm not trying to beat you up tonight. I'm trying to explain a principle that what we need today to combat fatherlessness is faithfulness and loyalty in the men. And it's got to start with our relationship with one another, and it's got to start, if you're married, with your relationship with your wife. Let me tell you something about loyalty. Loyalty is made up before anything happens. Faithfulness, you got to make a decision before anything happens. So before anything goes wrong, I decide I'm going to be loyal, right? And so when something goes wrong, the thing that goes wrong doesn't make me unloyal. I stay loyal because I made a decision to stay loyal. Do you see what I'm saying? You got to make it, it's a decision. It's not an emotional response. It's not a reaction to something that goes wrong in a friendship. If me and Danny Fuentes are going to be friends, then me and him are going to be friends, and I'm going to make a decision that I'm going to be loyal and a friend to you no matter what. Nobody does that these days. We come to every relationship we have with a condition. Well, I'll be friends with you as long as you don't do me wrong. But God is looking for a different kind of a man that would say, you know what, if you're in this church, I'm going to be a friend to you. If you leave me, talk bad about me, and you want to come back, I'll take you back because I'm loyal and I'm faithful. It makes them mad because even though they're not, I am. That's how God is. Even when we're unfaithful to God, He's still faithful. And He tells us, I want you to be the image of me in every relationship you have. That's the call. That's the call for every man in here, to get rid of the conditions. That's a hard call. We gotta decide, I'm going to be faithful even if everyone's unfaithful, even if they hurt me, even if they talk about me, even if they do whatever it is, you're gonna have to decide, I'm gonna stay loyal because God's gonna be loyal. And you know what? I told Pastor Brandon all the time, sometimes I've been at this church for 19 years. I see Tracy Glasper's here. He's been here a long time ago, right? How long it's been a few years, right? At least what? Yeah. About 10, 15 years. That's the guy that used to come here. I've been here since 2000. And so I'll never forget, I had somebody come and tell me, they said, man, how long are you going to, I'm going to stay. You know what my goal is? I told Pastor Brandon this all the time. I said, you know what my goal is? I want to die here. I want to die still serving Pastor GF as the man of God in my life. So that when I get to heaven and Jesus looks at me, He's going to say, man, holy cow, I didn't mean that loyal. You think He'll tell me that? I don't think so. If I don't build another ministry, if we don't launch another life group, if we don't do another thing for the ministry, if I don't travel anywhere else, I want to die, and I want to be the most loyal, faithful man as I walk across. That's my goal. You know what? That goal has kept me faithful and loyal. I'm not trying to build my name. I'm not trying to get invited to conferences. I got a place to preach right here. I don't need an invitation. I don't need to go anywhere. If you're not, I tell people all the time, if you don't want a father, I can't come. I'll come help you set up a fathering system so that we can build men and raise sons. But if outside of that, I ain't coming. That's all we want to do. That's our DNA. That's what we want to stick to. God is saying He's looking for faithful men. Turn in your Bibles to the book of Ruth. Now, y'all are going to say, now, how's he going to preach man church with Ruth? I'm fixing to talk about some loyal ladies. If the ladies can do it, we can do it. So this story in Ruth, I'm going to kind of paraphrase it for you. Naomi has a husband. They have 2 boys, and they move away to a country called Moab. And while they're in Moab, they're there, and she loses her husband. But she still has her 2 boys, and the 2 boys marry 2 Moabite women from the area. And in the process, she loses one son, then she loses the other son. So Naomi loses her husband and her 2 boys, and she's left with the daughter-in-laws. And the daughter-in-laws, they love her. But Naomi decides, you know what, I need to go back home. I'm a stranger in this land now. I have no men. So she tells these ladies, listen, ladies, I want y'all have been great. I release you. Go back into your people. Hopefully you'll find a new husband. I have no other sons that I can give you a husband. And even if I met a man and had children, you would have to wait too long till those children grew up to be your husbands. She says that in the Bible. And along the way, the names of the daughter-in-laws are Orpah and Ruth, and Orpah decides to go back. But Ruth stays with her. Ruth makes a decision to stay loyal to her mother-in-law. And listen, let me read you Ruth 1. It says, but Ruth said, do not urge, because she was, the whole time, Naomi's telling her, don't come with me. I don't need you to come with me. But Ruth said, do not urge me to leave you or to turn back from following you. For wherever you go, I will go. And wherever you stay, I will stay. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God. And where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. And may the Lord do thus to me, and worse, if anything but death separates you and me. And when Naomi saw that she was determined to go with her, she said, no more to her. That's a powerful, loyal statement from a woman who was being released. I want you to see something. She didn't stay for what Naomi could give her. Because Naomi told her, I can't give you anything. I have no more sons. Let's not mistake loyalty with a selfish ambition. Sometimes we stick to people because of what we can get. That's not loyalty. True loyalty is revealed when you're with somebody and they can't give you a thing. Yes, sir. Do you hear? Ruth stayed with Naomi, not for what she could give her. She couldn't give her anything. See, faithfulness and loyalty are never birthed out of self-preservation. And one of the things that we have, guys, unfortunately, is we have this thing on the inside of us that if something's going wrong, we self-preserve. How many of y'all know about self-preserving? Anybody in here? How many of y'all know when you're pressed up against it and they ask you a question and you say the little white lie? The little white lie so that nobody will know because you don't want to admit it. You get caught in a corner and you lie. That's called self-preservation. You're making sure that you're not found out. And when you have that, faithfulness and loyalty can never be birthed out of that. At the heart of it, loyalty and faithfulness is birthed from a decision that puts the object of the faithfulness and loyalty first. You hear me? Faithfulness and loyalty is birthed when you decide to be faithful and loyal because of Joe, not because of Robert. Not because of what Joe can give Robert, not because of what I want out of the situation, but just because it's Joe. Do we have relationships like that? You know, your wife is craving for you to love her that way. She's craving for your loyalty in that way. If you're married here tonight, I'm telling you, she's craving for you to just love her because she's her, because who she is, because she is who she is. She wants you to quit looking at what you get out of the situation and figure out, how do I give to her? How do I give what I have to her? He said some things in here, and I'm going to go back to do here. He said, wherever you go, I will go. See, you must be willing to follow. Ruth was willing to follow. She said, wherever you go, I will go. I will follow. Loyalty demands a submission. What if Naomi took off where she didn't want to go? But she made a decision before she figured out where she was going to. She made a decision. I'm going to follow wherever. Everybody say wherever. Wherever you go, I will go. I told my wife, whatever happens to us, I'm going to be there. I told my oldest daughter, no matter what you do, you can never shake me as your father. I'm going to love you anyway. I may not agree with you, but I'm going to love you. And that loyalty of a father is lacking in our world. There's a suction happening. It's just like an empty sucking sound when it comes to loyalty and faithfulness. And our kids are dying for it. Our women are dying for it. They're dying for a man to come and to say, you know what, no matter what, I'm not leaving. No matter how hard it gets, I'm sticking it out. There was a comedian that said, if you leave, I'm leaving with you. Do we have that kind of stability? Your family will follow you how you follow God. Listen to me. Your family will follow you how you follow God. Your ability to lead others is based on your ability to follow. You cannot be a leader until you've been a follower. Because when you're a leader, you're teaching people to follow. And you can't give somebody something you don't have. So if you have no idea how to follow and be loyal, how will you impart loyalty into them? You don't have it, so you can't give it. So as you lead, think about this. As you're charged with leading your family, you've got to begin to look at yourself and say, have I been a good follower? Who am I following? You know, part of the reason that my wife can follow me is she knows that Pastor GF calls her, texts her, how things going. I can't run away. I can't fake it till I make it up here with you guys. Because I've got a father in my corner that checks on my wife and says, hey, what's up with Brock? How's everything? On the flip side, I'll have my wife tell me, I'm going to call Pastor GF. If it gets too crazy, I'm going to call him. Because it gives her the ability to know that I'm under authority. And if I'm under authority, then she can be under my authority. See, most men want to be in authority. We don't want to be under authority. We just want in authority. But really, what Jesus marveled at with the centurion was that the centurion recognized, man, Jesus, you're not in authority, you're under authority. You do everything the Father tells you to do, and because you do what the Father I'm under too, he marveled at the under authority. He didn't marvel at the in authority. But mediocre men want authority with not accountability. Dr. Cole said, mediocre men, they want all of the authority, but they don't want to answer to nobody. And when things fall apart, you want to blame everybody. Come on, in Maximize Manhood, he talked about the two things that Adam did. The minute Adam sinned, the minute that Jesus confronted him, Adam walks out in the garden and he's got a fig leaf on. You know what I'm talking about? He's got a fig leaf on. And he's never had a fig leaf on, but today he wore one. I mean, it was a dead giveaway. He walked around unashamed before, but today he had to cover up. And God said, hey, what's going on? Like he didn't know what was going on. He's like the ultimate parent. It's kind of like when you walk into your kids and what are you doing? Like you don't know what they're doing. Something's going on because they've been quiet for 15 minutes and there's no noise coming out of that room. And you go in there, what's going on? He says, Adam, what happened? He goes, well, I was naked. And I was afraid, so I hid. And he said, who told you you were naked? And so the principle and the idea, what we do as men, when sin happens, we cover it up. We cover it up. And then the second thing Adam did is he said, well, the woman that you gave me, the woman you gave me made me eat the fruit. And see, what had happened was, so the pattern in the Bible is that we cover and we blame. Mediocre men, we cover and we blame. He had all of the accountability. He was supposed to lead that woman. He had all the authority, And when he got held accountable, he said, hey, what's going on? He covered up and he said it was her. If it wouldn't have been for her, somebody said she ate us out of house and home. So we have to be able to have authority. Authority determines the submission to your authority is determined by the level of submission. Your level of submission to authority determines how they will submit to you. Do you hear what I'm saying? There's no other way around it. How you submit to God determines how your family submits to you. If you're not submitted to God, they're going to have a hard time submitting to you. And a lot of times we come in this place with Man Church and we're hollering and hooping and hollering, and we take what we have itchy ears, and we take what we want, and we take that scripture that says, she's got to submit to me, and we run home, and we forget the part that you're supposed to die for her, like Christ died for the church. And we leave that part out because we want to be like China, that China East buffet or the Star buffet, where I want Kung Pao chicken, I want a little bit of this, but I don't want any of that. And we treat Christianity like a buffet, like we can just come up to the table and say, well, I'll take some of the grace, but, this lordship that he wants, I don't know, it gives me heartburn. I'm going to try something different. And we go down the line in church and we'll say, I'll have some Man Church, but I ain't changing. I don't like the green beans. I don't like the... And we treat the Bible that way, and we think we can come and eat what we want, and God is saying, you got to have me, all of me, or none of me. And we don't realize that that's why they can't follow. So your ability, your level, following is a prerequisite to leading. Listen, following is a prerequisite to leading. Your ability to follow will make you a leader or not. You can say, well, I don't believe in that. I'm telling you that if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting. And the bottom line is our ability to follow somebody. We all answer to somebody. The biggest thing we'll ever kill as men is our pride. If we can ever kill our pride and have someone in our life that we trust and can speak in, you got to find the right person. I'm not just talking about letting just anybody speak into your life. You wouldn't do that. Right? If you wanted to be a good electrician and you needed an electrician mentor, you would not find a plumber. You wouldn't go ask a plumber, hey, would you mentor me in my electrical business? That doesn't make no... It's the same thing. When you find someone to mentor you in the things of God, you find someone that can help you. You find someone. See, the problem is that we're lacking fathers that can come and say, Tony, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you because I care about you. I'm not going to help you because I want anything from you. I'm just going to help you because I care about you. That's what this is about tonight, guys. Can we change? Can we change and become that for somebody? Can we change and become, I'm going to help you because I just care about you? He said, where you stay, I will stay. So he said, where you go, you got to be willing to follow. You got to be willing to follow. And he said, where you stay, I will stay. You got to be willing to stop. You got to quit running out in front. Quit running out ahead. What happens when we run out ahead and we're not supposed to be out ahead is we produce illegitimate things. We begin to produce things that we know we can't take care of. When a young man starts having sex before marriage, he's running out ahead. And when he runs out ahead, we'll end up at the pregnancy center producing an illegitimate thing that he's not ready to take care of. And then that thing comes, and he's a statistic now. All of the odds are against him because we got out ahead. And a father knows how to come back and say, son, don't get out ahead of me. There'll be a day, listen, young men, there will be a day when you can get out ahead, but it's just not today. We all had that day when, I always talk about parenting. I said there's a part of parenting when you're in front of your child and he's behind you and you're cutting the path for your child because he's 6 and 7 and 8 and you cut paths for him. Then he gets to be about 11, 12, and 13, and he comes to the side of you, and shoulder to shoulder, you're both cutting the path together, but you're still teaching him side by side, but he never gets ahead of you because he really doesn't know where he's going. He doesn't know all the ins and outs of what could happen if we run into something wild out there. And then there's a time, dads, where you got to let them cut their own path, and you're behind them, and you're giving them advice, and you're talking to them. You're still in their ear, but you're not cutting for them anymore. The hardest part of being a father is learning those transitions. Some of us are cutting paths for 20 and 30 years old. You need to stop. This time they cut their own path. 20, 30, 40-year-old, you got to cut your own path. But some of us got 20, 30, 40-year-olds that we're treating them like they're 12. Or you're treating them like they're 5. And when there's no dad in the house, we treat a 5-year-old like he's 20. I run into them all the time at OAC. These young men, 16 years old, in alternative school, trying to figure out how to get to school because mom and dad are not home, and they've got to take care of their sister. And they're 16. They should have a man side by side going with them, and instead they're shoved out into the world, and nobody cares. And they're out there trying to make a path, and it's no wonder that our suicide rate goes so high when there's no dad, because they don't know what to do. They get discouraged. They get in a place of hopelessness. They don't have an answer. They don't have a dad to say, son, let me help you with that. Let me show you how easy this could be. Let me show you how to hit that differently. So we go from one extreme to the other. We either do too much for them or we do nothing. And somehow we got to come into the middle and become loyal and faithful to do just enough. We all want, listen, if you're a dad in here, you want your children to be able to make it without you. That's the goal. You got 18 years. If you're a dad in here and you got them still at home, you got 18 years to put something in them so that when they launch out after 18, they can do something with their life. And hopefully it's not just go make money. Maybe they can take some responsibility. Dr. Cole used to say, when you get out in front, your talent will take you where your character cannot sustain you. You see it all the time in sports. These young guys got a lot of talent, but they have no character. So they get out there on their own with nobody watching over them, and they blow up. They get into alcohol and drugs. They start running around with the wrong crowd. They got all the talent in the world. They could make a name for themselves. They could make history. But because they have no character, the character can't sustain them where they take them. You need fathers to develop character. And when they're developing character and telling you don't run out in front, they're not telling you you don't have the talent. They're just telling you it's just not time yet. It's just not time yet. You just keep working on what you're doing. Keep working on your running game. Keep working on your 40. Keep working on it. Yeah, you're good and you're better than everybody else, but good is not always great. You could be good enough or you could be great. And I need to build the character in you so that when you get where you get, you've got something about you that can keep you there. There's lots of people that can make a lot of money, but there's very few people that can keep it. I told Brandon today, everybody ever heard the word incompetent? All you got to do is run out ahead one step beyond your competence. If this is competent, all you got to do is take one more step and you're incompetent. Just one step. What competence means, young man, is your ability, your commitment, your knowledge, and your skill. See, competence is developed. So don't ever if somebody says, we use that word sometimes like you're incompetent. Like you're incapable. It's not that you're incapable, it's that you don't have the ability, the commitment, the knowledge, and the skill to do the thing yet. But if you stick with it, you will. Do you hear what I'm saying? So we use that word incompetence as kind of like a negative thing, but it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of work. It's just a matter of study. It's just a matter of working on it. And we have to have the discernment to know and have someone in our life that can say, don't take that step. Because if you take that step, it's going to be one step and you're not going to be ready for that. I have a nephew that plays select ball. And he's getting scouted around by colleges right now. And I asked him, so what's your plan? He goes, I'm going to go to junior college. And without knowing he was telling me, he was basically telling me that principle. He's like, I'm in a 3A school, and I'm playing select ball with 6A athletes, but I feel like I need junior college to get me to a place where I'm competent enough to play at that level. Because his dad has been telling him, son, I think you need to go to junior college first. But right now, in that little town where he lives, he's better than sliced bread. Everybody thinks he's the bomb. He hits, he pitches, he catches. He's a quarterback. He plays all sports. He's a star in the 3A. But he ain't had no 6A yet. So he's talking about he's going to get himself in a junior college so that he can work on his competence, so he can improve his ability. And he's not taking it like I'm bad. He goes, no, I want to make it to the end. I want to go all the way. See, if you want to go all the way, you got to have somebody in your life to say, hey, you need to take a step back. Before you go before you're at a church and you want to start a ministry and they told you no, maybe it's competence. It's not incapable, it's competent. It's like you need a little more ability, you need a little more skill, you need a little more knowledge. Let me work with you. Let's get this thing together. Or else we get out in front and we produce an illegitimate ministry. You got quiet. He said, your God will be my God. God is the one that knits us and allows us to walk in loyalty, not blind loyalty. Listen, when I talk about loyalty, I'm not talking about blind loyalty. There's a difference. I'm not saying you do whatever anybody wants you to do, whatever it is that they do. If it's unethical, immoral, against the Word of God, you don't do it. But if it's procedure, you just do it. If I change the chairs gray and you like blue, you don't go talk about how incompetent I am that I changed them gray because you don't like gray. That's procedure. Do you see what I'm saying? There's things that don't warrant it. There's things that we'll disagree on. There's things, when you have a mentor, there are things that you and your mentor will disagree on. There just will be, because you're human, because you've got a mind and you'll challenge things. Listen, man, if you're mentoring somebody, don't be afraid of being challenged. Don't be afraid of being wrong. Fathers, don't be afraid of making a mistake and owning up to it with your children. Don't expect them to follow you blindly when you're making mistakes all the time. Own up to your mistake, sit them down and say, I made a mistake. You're teaching them how to be better fathers and how to not just follow. And then the last, he said, where you die, I die. See, loyalty is a lifelong thing. Do y'all remember in 2 Samuel, if you go to 2 Samuel, show you something in here. There's a guy in the Bible. It's 2 Samuel 15. David's about to flee. Absalom is David's son, and he's being disloyal at the gate. And you know the story. Absalom's sitting out there telling him, well, you know, if I were the king, I'd do things a little different around here. If I were the pastor, we'd have this and it would run so much smoother. If I was executive pastor, I just would. If I was the king, we talk about that's an Absalom spirit. If you ever get there, just go somewhere else. Please. Don't call me and set up a meeting, just go. Sorry. I know that's kind of hardcore, but I'm just saying. Ain't nobody got time for that. Come on. That's right. There's plenty of places to go. Don't ever get caught where you're Absalom. Be the person that says, we don't do that here. Seriously, even if it's not me, even if it's your life group leader, protect your leadership. They give their life. They open their homes. They give their life to have you come over. They're trying. Are they perfect? Absolutely not. Am I perfect? No. Are you perfect? No. We're all unperfect. But they give their life to do things. So listen, if it's not edifying, just keep it to yourself. Don't even poison your wife with it. All that is just poison. Nothing good can come from it. He says, where you go, Ittai. So Absalom's out there doing his thing, and David's about to leave. And in verse 19, there's a guy, his name is Ittai the Gittite. How would you like to be named? Ittai the Gittite. His name was Ittai the Gittite. The king said to Ittai the Gittite, so Absalom's doing what he's doing, and David gets his crew together and says, hey, we got to get out of here, because David didn't want to have a confrontation with his son. Oh, that's another message. He didn't want to confront his son about his disloyalty, so instead, David packed all his stuff. The dad went away. Boy, if you're not willing to confront something, you'll never change it. If you're not willing to confront something, you'll never change it. But anyway, that's another message. So David gets his guys together, and Ittai the Gittite starts getting his stuff, and he says, the king said to Ittai the Gittite, why are you also going with us? Go back and dwell with the king, for you are a foreigner and moreover exiled from your own place. So this is a guy that had been exiled from his place, and he was a foreigner with David, but David had accepted him. And now Absalom was saying, I'm the king now. So he's saying, listen, you don't have to get in the middle of this. You can just side with Absalom, and I'm good. Because the guy that's after God's own heart will always say, hey, I'm good. You don't have to do anything for me. Beware of the guy that's demanding loyalty. Beware of the guy that's demanding honor. Beware of the guy that's demanding faithfulness. We don't demand it. The man after God's own heart, it's either way. The man after God's own heart is saying, I want it to come from you. I don't want you to be forced by me. You came only yesterday. Shall I cause you to go roaming around with us today? I am going where I go. Go back and take back your brothers with you. Mercy and truth be with you. So David gives him an out. And Ittai comes back and says, answered the king and said, as the Lord lives and as lives my Lord the king. So as God lives, he's the big capital L. As the Lord lives and as lives my Lord the king, only in the place where my Lord the king is, whether for death or for life, there alone will your servant be. He basically said, I'm in this thing to the end with you. Whether we live or whether we die, whether the ship sails or the ship sinks, we're in it for the long haul. Man, what could we do with men that are in it for the long? What would happen to our families if we said, honey, whether we live or die, I'm in it, man. You could count on me. What would it raise our level of living? Our wives could fill the roles that they were made to make if our husband stood and said, I ain't going anywhere. I'm riding this thing all the way. Whether we live or die. I bet David was refreshed and burdened that his own son couldn't tell him that. But a servant, a foreigner, came and said, I'm with you. He was loyal in his heart, and he was loyal in his actions. Because it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to go back. He said it, he packed his stuff, and he went with him. Listen to me. One of the biggest mistakes we make is we want an outward appearance of loyalty. We want an outward, but inwardly we're not. Inwardly we're murmuring. But outwardly we want to look loyal. We become imposters. And we begin to speak loyalty, and we begin to get relationship illegally. Because on the inside, I'm not with you. I'm just making you think I'm with you on the outside. And you go home and you kiss your wife, but on the outside, you got something else on the side. You got your own bank account, you got your own credit card, and ain't nobody know you got it. That's why I tell all the men in here, this is going to mess y'all up. I'm going to mess y'all up right now. If you got separate accounts, you should have one account and you should manage it. You should take care of her. Now, don't just go do that because she probably don't trust you to take care of her. Let me work. There's a process. Some people get in my office, I tell them that, they don't agree with that. I'm like, well, I've been married 28, been doing it 28. All I can give you is what I've been doing. I can't give you what I don't know. I can tell you what I do and how I've made it to work. Come on, right? I can tell you what I had to give up. I can tell you what I did wrong. I can tell you what I've done right. And I can give you the experience, but if you don't want to eat it, I'm not going to sit there like a little baby as you sit on your high chair and I'm trying to get the Gerber in your mouth and you're like, I'm just going to say, well, don't eat it then. One day you'll eat it. You're just not hungry enough. When the pain to change gets more than the pain, then you'll change. But if you can still handle it, it's like when Pharaoh tells Moses, I want you to get rid of the frogs. Remember that? He goes, get rid of these frogs. He goes, okay, I'll get rid of them. Let my people go. All right, I'll let them go tomorrow. one more night with the frogs. That's how we are sometimes. I had a lady one time call and said, we got a demon-possessed person in our house. I said, you put them in the car and you bring them over to the church right now. Well, we can't come today. Can we come tomorrow? I'm like, are you serious? You're going to let that devil sleep in your house? I'm still at work. I'm like, seriously, you call me and you tell me you got a devil-possessed person. I'm telling you, go get him in the car and bring him over here. Right now. But we sometimes don't see what we need to see. I'm going to end with this. In 2 Samuel 12, there's a guy named Joab. Everybody say Joab. Y'all remember he was King David's head of the army. 12 and 26 is where I'm going to be. And now Joab had fought against Rabbah of the Ammonites and assumed control of the royal city. So Joab sent messengers to David and reported, I have fought against Rabbah and I have occupied the water supply of the city. Now gather the remainder of the people, lay siege to the city and take it. Otherwise, I myself will capture the city and it will be called by my name. Let me give you a principle of loyalty. Joab knew that because he had that city on the ropes, that if David, the king, didn't come and take the city, right into the city, that he would get the credit for that victory. Loyalty allows the other person to get the credit. Loyalty allows the king to ride in and finish the job. If we want to talk about biblical loyalty. And some people, I know, I can tell, it's like not going to go over well. I'm not trying to be self-serving. Please hear me right. It's not about me. But I'm just saying, one of the biggest things we got to put down is the idea that we want to be the man. We all want to be the man. We all want to be Braveheart. We all wanted to get paint ourselves blue and white. But God's put us in a team. And listen, if we begin to be men that are willing to yield, and we care more about what we're doing as a team than we care about what I'm trying to build. See, Joab didn't care about what he was trying to build. He cared about the kingdom. So sometimes even us, listen to me, let me break it down some more without a man in the mix. Sometimes you're taking credit for things God did. So if you want to put this in the right context, it's when you take credit for something that God did and you talking about everything you're doing, what you built, what you're about, what I got, what I did this and I did that, but you wouldn't have done nothing if the king wouldn't have done it. And we've got to be able to yield and say, you know, I wasn't married 28 years because I'm good. That's God's doing. That's the transformation of the Holy Spirit in my life, that He changed me as a man. That's why it's available for you, because I don't have the talent and ability to stay married 28 years. It was only by the Holy Spirit and God's power that I was able to change as a man, and that woman stayed with me for 28 years, married to me. Come on, that's why it's available to you, because it's not about what you bring, it's about what He brings. And when you get connected to Him and you'll say, you know what, I'm gonna do everything I can do, but God, I need you to ride in now. I need you to ride in and finish this off for me now, because I don't want the glory for it. I don't want it named after me. I don't want anything named after me. I want it named after you, because you're the king. Stand to your feet with me today as we end.